Hello, let's talk today about parasites, what doctors won't tell you about health problems. The medical establishment, the colleges and the medical professions and the certifications and all of these things are geared towards students who are good at memorizing things but don't tend to think outside the box, don't tend to think for themselves, and don't ask the hard questions. In fact, a lot of these medical schools, they very quickly weed out anyone who bucks their authority, questions their agenda or their narrative, and basically just gives them too much of a headache. So you either conform or you get kicked out or pushed out. And what that does is it yields doctors and nurses who are compliant and unteachable. They come out with an arrogance that they think they know everything, but they actually don't know nearly as much as they think they do. And even if they study peer-reviewed studies, if they study medical journals, medical publications, unfortunately, they're still missing the big picture of what's causing the health problems. And I think the people at the top in charge of things are aware of it because they are behind it. But then the people who actually want to do good and spend 10, 12 years of their life in medical school, they don't know what they don't know. They don't even realize that a majority and that they have to do with parasite infections and obesity and things like that. So what we're finding is, I'm going to start with what is a parasite. A parasite is any organism which feeds off of another living organism. So this could be energy. They could feed off the energy. That's kind of a rare one that's just recently been proven to exist. I remember thinking like there were energy vampires for years. I was thinking more of like a spiritual aspect and them siphoning off negative energy. And then they came out with that show, What We Do in the Shadows, and the vampire Colin. It was hilarious because he's an energy vampire and he would just talk to people and bore them, but they didn't want to be rude, so they would fight against like being rude, but he was boring them. He was siphoning off their life force and their energy. And I grew up with people who actually would create situations so that people would fight. They thrived on it. They loved it. And they would just put rumors out there, and they would put people in a boiler pot just to see them explode, and they loved it. So they fed off of that. And those are basically energy vampires. And what we're finding is, on an actual cellular level, there are microorganisms that feed off of electromagnetic energy given off by cells. So there truly are energy vampires. But there's also parasites that they feed off flesh, parasites that feed off your organs, your kidneys, your intestines, your liver. There's parasites that feed off your muscles, your blood, your bone marrow. They'll even feed off the heart and the brain. They'll feed off of your spinal fluid, or at least they'll hide in there because the body's immune response doesn't want to attack that sensitive area. It can cause too much damage, so they can hide in there. But the problem is that a lot of these parasites that hide in these places wouldn't flare up and cause recurring outbreaks such as herpes simplex or meningitis, flu, COVID, certain vaccines that are parasitic in nature, malaria. So Those, sometimes they're saying that those are viruses, but viruses are also parasites at a cellular level. So viruses are basically cells that feed off of other living cells. They're still a parasite. So if you didn't have these parasites in the body that are in their natural life cycle giving off toxins, and those toxins trigger these other viruses and parasites to have recurring outbreaks, then we would be much healthier without these parasites. And I think what we didn't realize for so long is that parasites are prevalent. Like, most people have parasites, and it's something we don't want to talk about because it's gross, and we don't want to think about what could be in us, lurking in us, but we're finding that it's real. The struggle is real. And these things can also cause fogginess of the mind, mental issues, forgetfulness, inability to make short-term memories or retrieve long-term memories. And it can cause other physical issues like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I believe it can cause gout. I believe that it could cause heart, liver, and other, gut, intestinal issues, things with, issues with the genitals. So we don't want to talk about these things, but I believe that parasites play a huge role in the health problems of today. And there are parasite cleanses out there that have been out there for years. I've tried several of them over the last 8 years or so. Spent thousands of dollars on different ones, and some of them did give symptoms of die-off, so they probably did work to some extent, but I don't know any that work as well as fasting, like a really long fast, 14 to 21 days or longer. The body can actually start to metabolize not only its fat, some of its muscle, but also the body will metabolize the cancer cells and dead cells and flush the body, and supposedly can also start to eat things that aren't supposed to be there, like parasites. So I don't know that to be true. I believe that is very likely what happens on these longer fasts. But out of all of these parasite cleanses, there's only been one recently that we have found. This lady named Kim Rogers does, and she makes tinctures, which is a key to the delivery method. Delivery method is key. She's a doctor. She actually left her profession because she felt like she needed to try to figure out the best way to cleanse the body completely, but specifically for parasites and heavy metals. So Leah has been trying the Parify cleanse that Kim Rogers has, and in just a few days, we've already seen that it's working. And it's really gross to talk about, but it's working. The metal flush is working. And then there's several other things here that come with this to rebuild and recover. But the point being that whatever it is she's done with this specific mix, the specific amounts that she's mixed, and then putting it in the tincture has really worked. And then there's also fulvic soak, and these things combined with a probiotic. I think Leah's taking the Mary Ruth's, and there's also another one that I think she got from Kim Rogers. But all of these things combined have just absolutely pulled these things out, made them want to come out, and we really didn't want to know if we had them. And I'm next to try it, but to see that she has it, I'm pretty sure I have it, and it's insane to watch. And it's interesting to note that as these things die off, it really causes so much irritability and anxiety and anger, and it's from a spiritual perspective, it is almost demonic. I mean, we suspected that parasites could be demonic. We kind of joked about it, but then a little more seriously lately, we're like, could be some kind of a gateway to that, but can't prove that. It just seems odd connecting some dots there. But the parasite cleanse is huge. I just really feel like there's something the medical profession is either keeping from us or they just don't know about. And parasites are a huge problem for a lot of people. So if you've been thinking about it, I would consider doing the Parify cleanse that Kim Rogers has. We don't make anything off of that, but I think it's Rogers Hood HOOD.com, and check it out because it's already working, and it's only day 3 of like a month-long process. So we're excited to see how clean she gets and then how clean I get. But I'm telling you, parasites is a huge problem.